Welcome to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast, the podcast where we make 5-minute decisions that can change your business, your relationships, and your life. Hey, it's Dean Soto, and welcome to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. I am the founder of freedomin5minutes.com and proslim.com. And you are here for another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Today's topic is automate the crap out of it. That and more coming up. Woo! All right. So, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. And I want to say a special Thanksgiving, a big thank you to Mark and Doug, who are probably surprised if they're listening to this, for being new subscribers to the podcast. How did I find out about that? I don't know. I know that Doug, he went and subscribed into the freedomin5minutes.com email newsletter / community / daily emails that will be coming out. They're not coming out yet, but they will. I promise. I will be making that happen very, very soon. I promise. Oh, so I knew that Doug did that, and I saw that Mark liked the Facebook page. That was great. If you go to Facebook, you can type in Freedom in 5 Minutes. There is a spot there where you can sign up or subscribe or like the Facebook page as well. But the best thing you can do is get on the email list, because there's going to be some pretty amazing stuff going on. Plus, you get 7 free episodes, 7 secret episodes. All right, let's get into the topic. Enough of the babble. So Thanksgiving was amazing, but this last week has been crazy. It's been a lot of sickness, a lot of getting out of habits. This is another thing that's happens when you get sick, is getting out of habits. So the more that you can put some kind of automation or some kind of system or some kind of tool, the better. So let me give you an example of what's been going on. This whole last week, 2 things have happened. One, like I said, there was a lot of sickness in the family. I had my kids sick, my wife sick, I was sick. And when you have 7 kids and a dog, holy moly, does it go all over the place. So when the kids were sick, we were busy. I was busy taking care of them, or my wife was. And when the dog was sick, I was busy taking the dog to the vet into the city, and that took forever and took time and took me away from working out and everything like that. And so I was just, this whole week, I've been drifting. It's a concept in Wake Up Warrior. If you ever go to, I think, warriorbook.com, I give them a lot of shout outs because they really did change my life. I love what they do. But a concept in Wake Up Warrior called drifting, where you just kind of feel like you get bored and you get burned out. And this is something that happens with guys a lot, where you will literally destroy your business, or you destroy your family, or you destroy whatever, just because you're feeling bored and you're feeling burned out. And I'm starting to feel that way. Not going to lie. I was, and I still am, starting to feel that way. Kind of going back into bad habits that I had, waking up late and things like that, or just not having a purpose for the week, not having a purpose for whatever it is that I had planned to do. And so I was talking with my wife yesterday, yesterday, the day after Thanksgiving, and just telling her, look, I'm feeling like I'm drifting. I'm feeling like I feel like I'm getting back into bad habits. And here's why. I know it's only been a week or a week and a half, but I feel like I felt, say, about 6 months ago, when I was literally just almost destroying myself. And we can talk about that in another episode. But because I am the type of person that I need to be pushing forward, I cannot be status quo. I have to be doing something. I'm sitting there just spilling my guts out to her, saying, I'm so sorry. I even though for her, she's like, oh no, things are great. What are you talking about? I'm like, I cannot I do not feel like I am doing what God wants me to do. I don't feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do, and I'm just stagnant. I need to do goals. I need to do this, and I'm spilling my heart out to her. And she totally understood. But why did she understand? She actually understood what I was going through, even though it didn't make sense. Even though it didn't make sense to her in the sense of why I was feeling this way, or the kind of the feelings associated with it, she actually understood. How do I want to say this? It's not that she didn't understand why somebody would want to burn out or anything like that, but she understood why that was happening from a logical standpoint. Why? Especially for women who are, it's not that they're not logical, but they're definitely much more emotional, much more in tune with who a person is, which is way better than being logical. Why did she understand what I was saying and going through from a logical standpoint? It was because she understood the system. So with the Wake Up Warrior system that I go through, she understood that if I wasn't doing the stuff that I needed to do in the morning, the core 4 stuff in the morning, if I wasn't doing what are called stacks, which is kind of reframing your mind every day, if you're not doing the 90-day goals, if you're not doing all that stuff, you end up kind of skidding out and drifting and not seeing any growth. And that for men, for at least for a man like me, but I would say for most men, is a killer. It sucks. But she understood because she understood the system. If you don't do the system, it's not going to work, right? But at the same time, she understood how easy it is to get back on the system. You just do it. You do the work. You do the core 4. You do the stack every day, and then you're done. So it's not a hard thing to get back into the groove of it, and to get back into the game of it. And that's because, like I said, there is a system involved. When you have a system involved like that, you are able to use that system. You're able to use that system to be able to get back on the train, or to at least know whether or not you're doing well or you're doing poorly. If I did not do a stack every day, or if I didn't do a core 4 every day, I can look over the last 30 days and see that I only did 1. No wonder I'm feeling like crap, right? And it's because I did not make the decision to do it. But the decision's easy. It's either I choose to or I choose not to. I choose to or I choose not to. The result comes from that decision, right? The same thing goes for this podcast. So for a long time, I've done the Productive Catholic podcast. I've created the Online Empire Academy podcast, a restaurant business podcast. I created, what was the other one? Oh, So Totally Business Savvy, which turned into the Online Empire Academy podcast. I've had these podcasts for a long time, and I've even spoken on stage of how important podcasts are before they were even popular. I was at this one Hispanic conference up in Silicon Valley with all these different Microsoft people, all these different entrepreneurs, really big thing up there. And they were talking about mobile technology and everything like that, and why mobile landing pages are great and blah, 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 blah. And I get up there and I reframed everything. I go up there and I said, all right, so we're talking about mobile applications, mobile games. It's great. How many people listen to podcasts right now? And nearly everybody raised their hands. And I said, that's great. How many people have a podcast? And literally there was 2 people. 2 people. One, this young Hispanic girl, I think she was from like Argentina or something like that, and this one other guy. That's it. And I go on, I'm like, look, there's a huge gap in the market right there. A huge gap in the marketplace. So many people listen to podcasts, but so few people use them. If you want a fantastic marketing tool, you need to use them. And so I tried to practice what I preach, but the problem was this. I have this expensive equipment. The equipment's amazing. Cost me a couple $1,000s. Get in there, start recording, and after the fact, I have to go use Adobe Audition to process it all, and then I have to do all this other stuff, and it took hours and hours and hours. And I know there are services out there that will do that for you, but that's not good enough. I don't want to have to send it to somebody. I want to make it such a no-brainer that I have no excuse not to do it. Because so kind of going back to the fact that I had to do all of that stuff, I would use that as an excuse. Oh, it takes 30 minutes to do a podcast, and then it takes another 30 to 45 minutes to do the processing, and then the blog post associated with it, and so on and so forth. Which was a great excuse, right? Fantastic excuse, because who wants to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours doing one freaking podcast episode? Well, when you automate things, when you create systems, when you automate the crap out of it, you are then able to then have literally no excuse. I have no excuse not to do a podcast. If I don't do it, it's just literally because I'm lazy. Why? Because right now, every podcast you hear, even though it sounds just about as good, if not the same, as my studio recording, every single one of these Freedom in 5 Minute episode podcasts are done on my iPhone. I use an app called RecUp. It saves it to Dropbox. And then I use Zapier to create all these automations to be able to process the audio. It processes the audio. Then when it's done, it uploads it to Amazon S3, and then it takes that and then pushes it over to Libsyn and all this other stuff. I literally systemize this whole friggin' podcast. So there's a big red button that I press. I start, sometimes I don't even know the title. Like, for example, with this podcast, as I press the button, I'm like, oh crap, what was the title? I don't even know as I'm talking. So that's why that title probably doesn't coincide quite as much as it should with this thing. But once I press that button, I start. When the button stops, the magic happens. Everything goes to Libsyn, so it's all processed out. Everything is all done. So all then I have to do is write the title and the description of the podcast. That's it. I press the button and it's done. I probably will have it go over to my blog at some point in time, freedomin5minutes.com blog, but I really don't want to even do a blog right now. And I will at some point in time. But as for right now, I really don't want to. And so I have my freedomin5minutes.com site so that people who really, really love this podcast will go there. And as I add more things like a blog, as I add more things like video and courses and things like that, which I will in the future, they're the ones that are going to get first dibs. And I don't have to worry about all of that other stuff to when I'm doing this particular podcast. And so it's when you automate the crap out of stuff, when you create little systems for yourself that can tell you whether or not you are doing the right thing or not, or where you literally have no excuse because of how simple it actually is, how simple you've made it, you have no excuse, then the decisions that you make become much more clear, much more easy. And you can tell if I'm feeling bad, it's because I'm not doing X, Y, Z. If I'm not getting the traffic that I want, it's because I'm not doing my podcast. If I'm not getting new subscribers, it's because I literally didn't take 15 minutes or however long this podcast is to do the podcast. So why is this important? Because often we make decisions or fail to make decisions because we have overcomplicated something. Or it's because we know we have to do something, but it's so arduous. Like when I talk with people who are not totally familiar with my virtual assistant agency and what it does and how it works, a lot of the times they'll say, well, but I don't have, hours to teach somebody. I don't have, 3 hours, 4 hours, 40 hours, whatever, to teach somebody how to do something. Well, that's why the system, at least with prosulum.com, the system there is you do a 5-minute video. I understand that. I'm a business owner. I don't want to do that crap. I don't want to do that crap. You create a video and they do the system's documentation for you, and then they're able to do it from then on. So it kills that excuse, right? Does a business owner have 5 minutes? Yes. Does a business owner have a half hour? Yes. Does a business owner have an hour? Literally, I've seen people who within an hour outsource their entire business because the system is there to do that. It's a no-brainer. Like if you had to do something that took 40 hours, you'd be like, screw this, I don't want to do it, which is totally understandable. But if you knew that it only took a few minutes, boom, there's no excuse. So what can you do right now? It might be hiring somebody, it might be outsourcing something, maybe it's your marketing, maybe it's something else. What can you do right now? What can you do right now that will allow you to very quickly know one of two things: if you're going in the right direction, or make it so that you have no excuse not to do something. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's going to church and praying. Maybe it's family, doing something with your kids. Did you write X amount of notes this week to your kids? If not, then you know what you need to do. Did you I'll go get a cold brew for my wife. And that's part of the things that shows that I love her. Did I do that this week? No? If not, then there's a reason why we're arguing. It's because she doesn't get her cold brew. I'm just kidding. That's not why. But there's something out there, and it could be either one. Choose one. Whatever's better for you. What can you do that would put in place some kind of thing that you can measure to tell whether you're on the right track or off the right track, and it makes it easy to get back on, or something that makes it a no-brainer to do? These podcasts, it's a no-brainer. If I don't do it, it's just because I'm just literally just lazy. So what is it? What is that one thing? Do that one thing this week. It's Thanksgiving. Be thankful. One way to thank yourself is by giving yourself this gift. Do that one thing, and I'll see you in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes episode.